how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Disney is ruined, but has a new potential buyer for at least pieces of the company, if not the whole company. It's not Apple, and Apple had better watch out. If they want to buy Disney, they're going to have to move fast. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you. Trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. First things first, the company has not been doing well overall. The stock value has fallen 33% over the last 3 years. Disney's approximately a $160 billion company. You can divide that by 2/3 and get a sense that, they're down quite a bit of value. Coming from the Financial Times, Bob Iger's Disney comeback hampered by TV woes and box office flops. The TV woes, of course, are because cable is not as profitable as it used to be. That affects ESPN. It affects all their cable channels. It also affects ABC because advertising isn't what it used to be either. But that's been happening over the course of years, and there's really not much you can do about it. It's a business that's a big part of their business. They can't really just go in and out of that business left and right. They're heavily invested in it, and now they're trying to figure out what to do. The box office flops, though, are really a lot more revealing. It shows there's no management of the Marvel brand. There's no management of their own Disney brand. Where's the most recent Frozen sequel, for example? It's not like that wasn't a massive hit. Frozen 1, Frozen 2, where's Frozen 3? Oh, we're going to do it when we get around to it? Nobody's managing it. It's kind of incredible. On top of that, we've seen the destruction of the Marvel brand, the destruction of the Pixar brand, the destruction of the Lucasfilm brand. All flops, one after another, all different studios. It just shows you none of it's being managed properly. And that's where the new buyer comes in. Coming from The Wrap, watch out, Apple, another Disney buyer could be emerging. With Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs' return, Blackstone has a foot inside the House of Mouse. What is Blackstone? Blackstone is a massive investment company. It's not BlackRock. It's a different company. They do private equity. They do buyouts of companies. They're also a public company, but they've invested with Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs in something called Candle Media. That's their investment with those two former key Disney executives. And this article spells out really well what I kind of had a feeling could be happening, but just didn't have the research put together. And it's a great article, and it really does the subject justice. From Hollywood to Wall Street, all eyes in the media and entertainment industry will be trained on Disney Wednesday as it announces its latest quarterly earnings. And question number one from analyst to CEO Bob Iger should be his thinking about mergers and acquisitions. Those questions should take on more urgency now that Iger has retained former top lieutenants Kevin Mayer and partner Tom Staggs, currently running Candle Media as co-CEOs, in a consulting capacity to help decide ESPN's fate. This intriguing development followed Iger's recent uncharacteristically frank and gloomy comments that pointed to the notion of Disney shedding some of the assets it built up under his first run as CEO. Apple is still the most obvious potential buyer for a smaller Disney, but Mayer and Staggs' re-entry to the Magic Kingdom could make Disney the happiest place on earth again for them, as well as shareholders. Disney's stock is down over 50% from its highs a couple of years back and has continued mostly on a downward trajectory after Iger's return gave it an early buzz. Particularly troubling are plunging revenue and profits for ESPN and Disney's other cable networks, down 6% to $14 billion and 29% to $3 billion respectively for the first 6 months of fiscal year 2023, which cover October through March. And Mickey sees troubling transformational headwinds everywhere amidst increasingly tech-driven media's new world order. At first blush, it seems odd for Mayer and Staggs to be retained in a consulting capacity, don't you think? It's not as if they don't have other things to do. Both run an expanding media holding company, which now includes Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine, bought by Candle for a reported $900 million, and Moonbug Entertainment acquired for a cool $3 billion. But look closer and follow the money. Candle Media is backed by Blackstone, the massive private equity fund that manages $1 trillion in its mergers and acquisitions coffers. You heard that right. That's trillion with a capital T, a lot of cheese if you're trying to catch a mouse. You can see the picture emerging here. Mayer ran Disney's strategic planning group for years and engineered all of its massive game-changing acquisitions of the past 2 decades on a mergers and acquisition spree that was the envy of the entertainment world. Most notably, they included Pixar for $7.4 billion, Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion, and Lucasfilm for $4.05 billion, all incredible bargains in hindsight. I know some people still think that Lucasfilm wasn't a good buy for $4 billion or so. I think it was a great buy. Right now, they're not doing so great with Lucasfilm, but it's because it's not being managed well. Similarly, Marvel for $4 billion at the time was an absolute steal. What they've done to it is unforgivable, but it's still worth a couple of $1 billion. It's worth more money than they paid for it still to this day, even though they've ruined Marvel. Keep in mind, they have a huge library of intellectual properties and a huge library of films and now TV shows. Pixar saved their animation at Disney Animation, which then went on not just to make money through Pixar, but also make money for Disney's own animation division because they brought Pixar's management in and used Pixar's management to solve Disney Animation's really serious quality problems. That was actually Bob Iger's idea, and it was a good idea, and it worked. Mayer also led the $71 billion acquisition of Fox's entertainment assets, where many pundits believe Disney overpaid, which actually was only around $52 billion when it was done, but it didn't really work out that well. The point is that Mayer is a deal guy through and through, and Candle Media's purpose is mergers and acquisitions. Besides perhaps Iger, no one knows Disney's assets or what to do with them better than Kevin Mayer. And then there's his partner Staggs, who also spent years at Disney, ultimately serving as its chief operating officer in addition to its CFO. Both Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs have a tremendous history with Disney, and they have a lot of expertise with strategic business planning and also with finance in the CFO position that Tom Staggs had. Mayer, Staggs, and their Blackstone benefactors theoretically could mastermind a takeover of all of Disney by leveraging massive debt as well as cash. But that's not likely because of continuing rising interest rates right now. Much more likely would be for Mayer and Staggs to buy what they deem to be Disney's tastiest morsels. Since they are consulting for Iger about ESPN's fate, that's an obvious place to start. One person's consulting is another person's due diligence in advance of a potential acquisition. Due diligence is when you check a business out before you buy it. It's done with a small business, and it's also done with a very large business. And the consulting agreement is a great way for them to get in the door at Disney, look at the recent financials, talk to the managers at Disney, and understand what the value might be of some of these properties like ESPN. ESPN and related properties would likely command at least 1/3 of Disney's current depressed market cap of about $150 billion. A buyout premium would take that number significantly higher. 1/3 of $150 billion is a valuation of ESPN at around $50 billion. By my estimates, I think Disney is worth at least $100 million more than the 160 or so billion you usually see the value of the company at. It's just that all the assets are just so badly managed by Bob Iger and any of the other previous management right now. Sharp managers could really come in and make some money. And that's also a good explanation for what's been going on at Disney, because Bob Iger, while he's staying another 2 years through the end of 2026, he hasn't made any of the moves as a manager or really brought in new key managers to fix things that are obviously wrong. He hasn't replaced Kathleen Kennedy. He hasn't replaced Kevin Feige. There's nobody new at Disney Animation that's doing anything great, and I haven't heard how they plan on solving anything over at Pixar or anywhere else. If they don't have new managers, they can't have new management. But that's the kind of thing you do when someone's looking at buying pieces of your company. You don't make big changes. Disney's linear networks generated about 1/3 of Disney's overall revenue last quarter. Media mergers and acquisitions multiples on financial performance can vary widely, with upward trending relevant financials rewarded on the higher end as compared to ESPN's current downward trend. After an acquisition of one or more parts, Mayer and Staggs could return to the mothership to work the magic they might have hoped to as Iger's heirs before his surprising anointment of Parks chief Bob Chapek. The private equity playbook, streamlining operations, accelerating growth, and getting liquid within 5 to 7 years, meaning selling out what you bought, could work here. Disney's distressed stock price certainly makes this possibility more probable today. There's $100 billion in value hiding inside of Disney that if they were to carve it up in pieces, it would come out. People would make money. And the Blackstone people know that much better than I do, especially with Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs from outside the company and now then inside the company as consultants looking at all their numbers and talking to their executives. They can find the value. And that's the kind of stuff that people like Blackstone love. A private equity purchase from Blackstone would be a close second to Apple in the opinion of this author. I don't think that Apple is really a number one buyer for Disney's assets at this point because the management of their intellectual properties and all of their individual businesses is just so terrible right now. And without good managers, a company like Apple is not as interested in spending like $250 billion to acquire the thing because even though Apple can absolutely afford that, it's an embarrassing mess when they have to go manage that, then try to fix it as things get worse. Disney is really not well run right now. It really is ruined. You need people like Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs who understood the business years ago, still understand it, and by now have great ideas about what they would do with the individual assets. And just to understand, there are weird financial deals that happen all the time with these investment companies. For example, AT&T completed a spinoff of DirecTV in a deal with TPG. TPG is a finance company, a private equity company. They were actually interested in DirecTV. They made a deal to buy most of it from AT&T. AT&T wound up losing like $50 billion in the deal because they paid so much more for it, but they were happy to get rid of it. And eventually, once they did get rid of it, it helped their stock price overall because investors were happy they weren't going to be distracted by it. Similarly, investors were happy to see them get rid of Warner Media and stick it with the Warner Brothers Discovery people now. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.